Hello and welcome to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction and audiofiction. This is a special requested Thanksgiving special, part of Fusion November, requested by you guys, and since I'm English I did it with my own little twist, making it a thankful day celebration. And it is also a prelude to the up and coming new series for Christmas called All I Want for Christmas. So I hope you enjoy. Make sure you smash that like button, comment down below what you think of it, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the future series to come and anything else that's happening on the channel. Okay, hope you enjoy. I'm thankful for you. Marinette's POV. Music echoed over the water as Kitty section rehearsed on the Liberty that evening. Several of their classmates were there as they enjoyed the music and the opportunity to hang out together. Using the excuse to be there, Marinette brought along a box of cookies to share out and glimpsed Adrien playing the keyboard. She couldn't help but linger on the sight before catching Luca's eye, suddenly feeling awkward and bashful, knowing he was reading her mind and what had grabbed her attention. She darted her eyes away and bustled through the small crowd. There was still a pang of guilt when she saw Luca, how things had ended between them. Part of me wishes things could have worked out between us, she thought sadly as Mylene took a cookie from the box. But it's not as if I could tell him the truth, and yet a part of me believed he would have helped, somehow. She sighed, and then caught Alia smirking at her from around Nino's shoulder. At least she's had her bestie in her corner now, and that was helping a lot, but still. It didn't help with the feeling of being alone and isolated sometimes, all because she was Ladybug, the ultimate self-sacrifice for this calling, especially as she watched all her friends pairing off and she was left without a special someone. She couldn't help stealing another glance at Adrien. She was grateful to have her continued friendship with Luca and Adrien, plus she would always have her partner Cat Noir, the one person who might know how she was feeling. She set the cookie box to one side with a roll of her eyes. He would have jumped at the chance to be Ladybug's +1, and yet that didn't extend to Marinette. She was destined to be just a friend to everyone. Would that even extend to Cat if he knew who she was behind the mask? As the song finished, the group clapped and cheered out words of encouragement before clustering around the box of cookies as Luca declared a 5-minute break. "Hey guys," a voice called from the gangplank. "Sorry I'm late." Zoe stood there, smiling at the familiar greeting from the group. "Is it over? Did I miss rehearsal?" Luca smiled his sweet smile at her. "No, we're just taking a brief break. Come aboard. Glad you could join us." Zoe blushed slightly before giving him a mock salute and joining them with a grin. "Oh, cookies!" Marinette smiled and held out the box to her. "You always make the best cookies, Marinette." Everyone raised their cookies in agreement like a toast. "That's true," Adrien replied softly. Marinette, taken by surprise at the sound of his voice, glanced behind her, knowing a blush was forming on her cheeks as he gave her a wide smile and a hint of a twinkle to his eyes. "So, how is everyone going to celebrate Thanksgiving?" Zoe asked. Everyone except Adrien looked at her blankly. She looked confused. "Thanksgiving? A big harvest feast to celebrate friends and family and what we are thankful for?" "Wow, that sounds amazing, Zoe, but I'm afraid that's just an American thing," Adrien replied. "We don't celebrate it here." "What's it like?" Rose asked dreamily. "Well, I was at boarding school, so I never had a real one," she said in a embarrassed tone. "But the movies show it having all the family and friends together with lots of good food like roast turkey and mashed potatoes and beans and pies and all sorts of vegetables, hot cider and stuff like that." She looked wistfully down at her empty hands. "I can imagine it would be easier to be thankful surrounded by all that." Marinette's heart was stirred for her new friend. Zoe looked so sad and distant, as if she never had a real family dinner, much less a chance to be thankful for the blessing of friends and family. In that moment, an idea crystallized in her mind, imagining the group coming together and sharing what they were grateful for and to celebrate their friendship. She was gonna give Zoe a real Thanksgiving. After all, she was part of their family now and they were thankful for her. This was an opportunity to welcome her properly and give her something by the looks of it she had always wanted. The next issue was how she was going to pull it off. One by one, the band finished up their snacks and headed back to the platform as Alia sat down next to Marinette, who already had her notebook out, was making a list of what it would involve to pull it off. Alia stared at her, inspecting the expression and the fury of scribbling her bestie was doing. "I know that look, girl," she murmured as the band started playing again. "So, what over-the-top idea do you have this time?" "I want to give Zoe a Thanksgiving," Marinette whispered, doing a quick search on her phone for traditional Thanksgiving dishes and decorations. What she had described before sounds amazing. Plus, after everything Chloe and her mom have put her through since she got here, she kind of deserves to know that we care and that she has us now. "You have a heart of gold, you know that, right?" Alia wrapped her arms around her shoulders in a hug. She gave a one-sided shrug. "I just think it would be good for everyone and be a nice thing to do for all of us. You want to help?" "Any excuse for a party. What do you need?" The two of them spent the rest of the jam session researching the American holiday and figuring out the details. The other packed up and headed home when Luca, Adrien, Ivan and Mylene came over to them. "What tune are you planning now, Mama Marinette?" Luca said with a teasing tilt to his voice. She blushed at him, pretending to stutter over her name. "Not so much a tune, but more like a menu?" "Hey, if you're baking, then I'm down to help," said Adrien, his eyes bright. Alia touched his shoulder. "I told you, Marinette. True cupboard love." She felt her cheeks burn scarlet, but Adrien just smiled at her friend. "Come on, Alia. Marinette knows I like her for more than just her baking skills." "Really?" Alia quipped, leaning towards him and staring at him over the top of her glasses. "Like her how, Agress? Inquiring minds want to know." Marinette's eyes widened. Was Adrien really saying he liked her? As in, liked her? Or the usual like? Oh, ginger snaps, this couldn't be happening, could it? Adrien ran a hand over the back of his neck, an unconscious habit he did when nervous or embarrassed, keeping his head down but darting his gaze upwards towards her face. "Well, she's kind and talented and she's a real good friend." The three others rattled out the worn-out phrase in unison, leaving Marinette to blush so hard she was sure that her cheeks were passing out of the visible spectrum. Adrien looked at the others, then at her, and a slight pinkish tint touched his cheeks. "I guess I said that before, huh?" "A lot," the others replied, and they all chuckled in his confusion. He awkwardly moved 3 steps and was now standing close to her. "Well, Marinette is a great friend," he said defensively, putting an arm around her shoulder. "I don't see what's so funny about that." She stood frozen, staring at his hand on her shoulder, as if it was a snake, and if she moved, it would bite her. So, did that mean he still only saw her just as a friend, or was he admitting to more? She wouldn't dare look up at him, fearing the answer might be sketched onto his face. Instead, she glanced around the group who were mocking Adrien with blatant expressions. Apart from Luca, who was reading hers with a bittersweet smile on his face. Oh, blast. How did I get into this mess? "There are friends and there are friends," Alia declared, smirking at him suggestively. "Where does my girl fall, sunshine?" Marinette wanted to shout at her bestie to stop what she was doing, embarrassing Adrien like this, who was clearly unaware of what kind of feelings he still had towards her. However, experience had taught her that only caused more awkwardness for all involved. He just stared at her, confusion in his eyes and a scarlet blush growing more pronounced across his handsome features. He removed his arm from her shoulder and used it to rub the back of his neck, sensing the strange atmosphere forming between the group. If there had even been the slightest chance of him liking her, then she was sure now it had gone. "Cut it out, Alia," she muttered under her breath, but her best friend ignored her. When it was clear that Adrien wasn't going to confess to how he felt and that Alia would not back down, Ivan of all people intervened. The giant teddy bear of a boy stepped over and pulled Marinette over to him, and Mylene into a big huddle, breaking the tableau between the friends and Crush and ex-boyfriend. "I think we should let Marinette finish what she was saying," said the gentle giant, patting her slightly on the head to let her know that he and Mylene understood her unease. "What's the plan, Marinette?" "Thanks, Ivan," she stammered, trying to ignore the other three and focus on her notebook. "Zoe mentioned that she had never had a Thanksgiving with friends and family before. I thought since we all kind of adopted her that it would be neat to set one up for her. You know, invite the entire class and Kitty section could play some music and we can all have dinner together. Let her know she's not alone." The other conversation had stopped. Instead, they were all looking at her. "That's a great idea, Marinette," Adrien said sweetly, moving closer to her again. "What do we need to get started?" She darted her eyes at him and regretted it when she saw the smile and knew her cheeks were giving her away again. "Well, we need somewhere to hold this meal. Any ideas?" "What about the hotel?" Alia suggested. "We know the mayor is her stepdad and he likes her a lot. Maybe he could help." "True, but if Chloe and her mom got word of this, they would shut it down out of spite," Mylene sighed. "So the hotel is probably out." "I would offer to use my house as we have a massive dining room that would be perfect for it, but I don't think my father would welcome that amount of people. Especially my school friends in the house, even if it was for Zoe. I'm sorry." Adrien sounded a little disappointed. Without thinking, Marinette placed a hand on his arm as a comfort. "That's all right, Adrien. We understand, and wouldn't want to impose." He placed his hand on top of hers. "Thanks," he whispered. Marinette noticed everyone looking at them both and where their hands were. Caving into the pressure and not wanting to overstep, she scolded herself as she slid her hand out of his grip and drifted her gaze back towards her notebook. "Well, I was kind of had another idea. Why not here?" She flipped the pages and scanned through the initial drawings she had made whilst the music had been playing. "I mean, if it's okay with you two and your mom." She quickly glanced up at Luca, who was smiling at her drawings, and Julika, who was nodding her head. "I think your designs and ideas are wonderful, Marinette, and we would be more than happy to host it." Luca beamed at her. "Great! So I was thinking, since we already have the stage, we could get some tables and chairs. I know a great catering company we can use. Natalie uses them all the time for events. I could reach out to them and see if we can loan some," added in Adrien. "That's an amazing idea, Adrien. Thank you." This time she glanced in his direction but avoided his eyes, but felt a hand on his shoulder, causing her heart to quicken. "So if we had a long row of tables and above we could stretch out some form of cover, whilst underneath string some fairy lights which would create this magical glow onto the feast. As for the food, if everyone is willing to share out the jobs, I mean, I would do the turkey using our big ovens and my parents will probably make some desserts." "Like we did for Heroes Day, but on a bigger scale," said Alia, giving Marinette an approving nod to this suggestion. She ran her pencil over the list of jobs they needed to complete and couldn't help but let out a small sigh under her breath. Exactly like that. But we only have 5 days to pull it off. Don't worry. She felt Adrien giving her shoulders a light squeeze. We've got this. We can do it, no problem. Especially when we all work together, added Rose in her usual upbeat tone, and Julika agreeing. Yeah, no problem, Marinette. You tell us the jobs that need doing, and we'll tell you which ones we can do, Alia said, glancing down at the list that she already compiled. Refocusing her thoughts, Marinette sat down at the table with Adrien sitting next to her and spent the next 5 to 10 minutes adding and taking away from the long list. She couldn't believe how natural it felt, bouncing ideas off him as he told her of his limited experience of being in America on a few visits, and what he had picked up on traditionals when he was there. Whilst their friends dipped in and out, the conversation picking out a few items they could take care of, leaving only a handful left on the list. I can help you take care of the last items on the list if you like. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Marinette guessed it was his driver informing him it was time, as he glanced to the riverbank whilst he grumbled underneath his breath and rose to his feet. I need to go, but we could tackle some of the jobs after school if you like. Tomorrow? She mirrored his movements, caught in his gaze. Yeah, sure. If you have the time, that is. For you and this amazing gesture you're putting together for all of us. Always. Thank you for your help. She could feel the blush returning to her cheeks from his soft stare. Would you like a lift home and we can... His phone buzzed again as he rolled his eyes and sighed. You had better go. I still have some things to go over here before I do. Thanks again. And I'll see you at school tomorrow. Yeah, sure. She could swear there was a hint of disappointment wash over his face. Oh, blast. I'll see you tomorrow. A half smile returned to his face before waving bye to the rest of the group as they called out their farewells to him. Marinette planted herself back down, remembering a few more things she could take care of and writing them on her list, distracting herself from staring at Adrien leaving and the million of questions which were squealing inside her head. They were for later in front of Tiki and the biggest cookie she could get her hands on and process it all. Girl, what was that? With Adrien? Why didn't you take him up on the offer? Alia sat next to her and muttered under her breath and away from the darting eyes, one of which had been Luca. He was helping me since he had more knowledge than any of us about American traditions, and it's true. I still need to take measurements and... She caught Alia's judging gaze and paused. It would only be a 2-minute drive where we had small talk and said bye as I climbed out, and it wasn't a lie. I needed a moment after. She gestured to where they'd been sitting, and he has offered to help after school, if he has the time, so what if it's still as friends, and I don't want to get my hopes up again, you know what I mean? I hear you, girl, and a 2-minute drive won't make or break it, but I have to say, his look of disappointment was priceless and not suggesting friendship. That's all I'm saying, but at your speed. Oh, look at that! A snail just whizzed past the both of you. Marinette let out a groan at her friend as she returned it with a wide grin and a knowing look. Marinette spent the evening watching some sort of American TV film that was fluffy and romantic, but based around Thanksgiving to give her a sense of what it should be like. Whilst gathering pieces of fabric together to sew a festive table runner, adding elements with scraps of golden fabric as leaves on a long piece of crimson fabric. The decoration styles seemed to be a blend of autumn and Christmas, whilst the food reminded her more of a British European style Christmas feast. The more she looked into it and the different theories behind it, the more complicated it became. Instead, she merely wanted to focus on the theme of giving thanks and being grateful for what she has regarding friends and family. The beautiful gift of coming together, plus any excuse to have a crafting project, which, if Adrien was still willing to help her, would be their project after school. Since the actual day wasn't a holiday in France, they decided they would hold the meal on the Saturday. That way everyone could join, with the bonus of more time. She landed at school slightly earlier than normal for her. Having a new project to focus on helped to bring back a spring to her step, or maybe it was a lingering warmth left over from last night's film. That was until she saw Adrien climb out of his car and made his way over to her smiling. Butterflies took flight at the sudden nervous thoughts at bringing up the project of her joining her after school. Or maybe she should leave it for him to say something, that way he could back out of it. "Hey Marinette, nice surprise finding you waiting on the steps before school. Not that you're normally late or anything, I mean sometimes you are, but..." The confidence he started off the conversation with drifted away from him as a cute blush formed on his cheeks. She had never noticed him do that before. Words were lost on her as he leaned in a little closer, dropping his voice down to a whisper. "So, have you had any more thoughts on the Friendsgiving gathering?" The confidence returned as he threw her a smirk to go alongside his pun. "Friendsgiving? I like that." She smiled at him but quickly darted her gaze away, looking like she was searching for Alia and Nino, when in fact the casual conversation wouldn't last much longer if she had to keep staring into his sparkling emerald eyes. "I was working on some decoration pieces last night, but I need to head to the craft store after school, if you are still..." "Yes! I mean, yeah, that would be fun. I told Natalie that I was working on a project after school, and in a way I kinda am." He grinned at her, stunning her with how excited he was. "Cool, cool," she said, the words growing in pitch as all the other words had exited her mouth. "Well, I was thinking a tree, but it's not a tree, but it would need time to dry before, or we could paint it. That makes little sense, doesn't it? I have sketches I can show you in class." "I'm sure with you designing it, the tree will be amazing." Without her realizing, Adrien had taken a step closer and was now angled towards her, and his hand had moved back into the same position as yesterday evening. She took a deep breath. "Yes, but we still have to make it first," she teased, noticing a bit of a ladybug was showing, and saw him raise an eyebrow at her. "Girl, wow, am I seeing things? Marinette, waiting for moi?" Alia called out at the bottom of the steps and threw Marinette a loaded look when she saw the interaction between the two. "Morning, my dudes," Nino greeted, and then wrapped an arm around Alia, kissing her on the cheek, the usual morning greeting. Marinette couldn't help feeling awkward and jealous, but this morning she was grateful for the small steps with Adrien, that might one day it lead to what her friends have. As they turned to move, heading to the lockers, she felt Adrien's hand slide off her shoulder and down her arm a little, as if he was about to take her hand. Her breath caught in her chest. Nothing. Instead, he dashed forward and held the door open for the group, and a rosy colour in his cheeks. Before she knew it, they were preparing to pack up for the day as Adrien turned round and faced Marinette. "So, where are we heading first? Did you say the craft store?" A wide smile shone across his face. "Oh, yeah, craft store first, but we might have to do some sneaky scavenging, if you're up for it." She gave him a little smirk and a challenging gaze, taking him by surprise along with Alia and Nino. "That sounds intriguing." Alia shot Marinette a stare, which she threw right back. "Yeah, I mean, I'm up for some scavenging." Adrien shifted his eyes to his bag, placing the last of the books inside when the school bell called out. "Great! I made a list of what we need." Marinette felt strangely confident, and she was going to roll with it. No more second guesses. He had chosen to hang out with you. They did the usual bye as Alia and Nino took off in the opposite direction, but she felt her phone buzz in her pocket. Alia: "Make sure you call me afterwards." Marinette let out a small chuckle and then jumped at Adrien's voice right beside her. "What's so funny?" "What?" Within seconds, the confident walking Marinette was gone and the clumsy version had returned. Tripping over her own feet, she lunged forward but felt Adrien's hand reach out and grab hers, giving her the much-needed balance. "Sorry, thanks. Don't know what happened there." Her gaze followed his, staring at their hands clamped together, their fingers woven together, snuggling against her sleeves of her woolly jumper. The same sunshine smile broke through and felt his hand squeeze hers, holding them tighter instead of letting go, encouraging her forward. Her mind buffered for a few minutes, acting on autopilot. He was holding her hand. He was choosing to hold her hand. It felt good. No, amazing to have this continued link between them. They arrived at the craft store and realized she would need to drop his hand for the list, regret already forming inside her gut. She gave Adrien a small grin as her hand slipped out of his, quickly reaching into her bag and produced a list, making sure he noticed. He chuckled. "What's the first thing on the list, Marinette?" "We need chicken wire, PVA, gesso, white acrylic paint. I have enough black paint. Oh, we need florist wire." "Marinette." He leaned in a little closer, his eyebrows raised. "What are we making exactly?" "I didn't show you the design, did I? We're gonna make a thankful tree." She handed in the list while she grabbed a sketchbook out of her bag, flipping the pages until she reached the design of the tree you would see in a Tim Burton film, with a magical edge, not creepy. "Wow, we are gonna make that?" "Yeah, at least try. It will take over one afternoon, waiting for the layers to dry, so it depends. I know you're busy with other things, and I'm really grateful for your help to start it." "I'm in all week if you need me. I'm not going to let you down. I'm excited to do this. But can I ask, what are those?" He pointed to the elements hanging off the trees. "Oh, we need brown paper. Parcel paper would do. Oh, and bronze liquid. Yeah. So they are leaves we will create, and people can take one and write something they are thankful for, and then attach it to the tree." She could feel the heat in her cheeks and cast her gaze down, suddenly nervous at the thought he might think her idea foolish. "Marinette, that is a wonderful idea. You are really thoughtful," he said with such tenderness, forcing her eyes up and met his soft gaze. Oh, wow. That look made her feel like she was floating on air. Did he even realize he was doing that to her heart? Her mouth became dry, words sticking to her tongue, and all she could do was nod. "If you could get the chicken wire, I'll get the painting supplies." She chuckled at his lost stare as he glanced around the store. "It's over there. Meet you back in 5? "Great!" He dashed off, glancing back a few times as Marinette scanned the aisles, placing extra items into her basket. After they had 3 large bags filled with goodies, Marinette turned around to Adrien. "So, about the scavenger part of the mission." She could tell a hint of Ladybug was showing. "We need some wood and nails, items to construct the base of the tree before we mold the form around it." "How does the scavenger part come into it?" He raised his eyebrows, intrigued by the next part of her plan. "Well, there's a scrapyard hidden amongst the city, owned by Louis. He's an old friend of Papa's and lets me come and have a look around for things I can make things from now and again. So I was thinking Louis might have what we need." "Wow, I had no idea. but I do love a good treasure hunt. They rounded the corner and down a couple of streets until Marinette stopped at 2 large wooden gates with a small brass bell hanging on the side. After a few minutes, a small door concealed in the large one opened, with a head popping out. Louis's eyes widened at the sight of Marinette and boomed out, "Welcome!" The head was replaced with a hand beckoning them in. Marinette gave Adrien a playful smile as she stepped over the wooden lip and stepped into the vast cave of wonders. She had guessed the place used to be stables to house the city horses, with a cobbled courtyard leading into an L-shaped structure brimming with organized treasures. She glanced back and watched as Adrien's eyes widened at the view. "It's not what you expect, is it? You are the first person I've brought here. Now my secret is also yours to keep." "I'm honored, Marinette, that you should trust me with such a secret. Wow, I could spend hours here." She giggled at Adrien's childlike grin forming on his face. Louis, who looked at least 10 years older than her papa, stepped out from one of the various doors at the edge of the courtyard, wiping his hands across his filthy apron before brushing his nails against his short silver beard. "Marinette, what do I owe for the pleasure? Is there some new project on hand?" "Hello, Louis. This is my friend, Adrien." It felt kind of good to use it back on him, but she didn't dare glance around to see his face. "Yes, and you know me too well. I need some planks of wood and nails. You see, I'm making this." She pulled out a sketchbook and flipped to a more mechanical drawing. "Oh, I see. What's it gonna be?" "When we are finished, it will be a thankful tree, but we need to make the base first. We are organizing a gathering, a Thanksgiving-inspired one for friends and family. You should come. Papa and Mama will be there. It's on Saturday." "Thank you. I will give it some thought. As for your thankful tree, I think I have just what you need. Come this way." Louis suggested for her to follow through the stable door. "Do you want to have a look around whilst I gather what we need?" She felt like she was talking to Maman at a toy shop, who was ready to sprint off to explore at that second. "If that's okay, that would be amazing." "Yeah, we shouldn't be that long." She grinned at his sunshine smile. 20 minutes had passed, and they touched base with each other a few times, checking each one was all right. Louis had cut the wood to size and even made it simple for Marinette to construct once they were back in her room. "Marinette, please promise me you'll bring me back here again soon. That wasn't long enough." "Thank you." He was giving her that soft stare which made her insides melt. "Sure, I thought you'd like it." She handed him the bundle Louis had wrapped up for her. "Thank you, Louis. How much do I owe you?" "Oh, I think attending this Thanksgiving will be payment enough. I want to see the final product." "Thank you," they both said as one as they climbed back through the small door laden with their treasures and headed back towards the bakery. With the help of her papa, they carried everything into her room and laid everything out in front of them. Louis had given her the flat base to slot the trunk of the tree onto, and then they had to fix on the 3 arms to the trunk with wooden pegs and a lot of wood glue. Marinette giggled as Adrien crouched down and looked like he was performing Twister with the tree as he held the branches in place. Marinette laid out the rest of the materials, configuring how each step would take. "I don't think we can do any more this evening. Think we need to let it dry before we do the next part. I mean, if you can help tomorrow. If you can't, I understand." She purposely glanced away and picked up one of the golden leaves she was sewing onto the table runner, so not to see his conflicted gaze. "I'll be here." His loud, excited voice took her off guard, grabbing her attention. "I want to help, and now that we have started this project, I want to see it through. I'm excited. I've done nothing like this before." He slowly crept away from the makeshift tree in the center of the room and made his way over to her. "Plus, I really enjoyed this afternoon with you, Marinette." His voice was softer, quieter now. I haven't had this much fun in a long while. We make a good team. We do, don't we? I've had lots of fun too. She could feel the beaming smile stretching across her face. It's nice to do this with someone, to share it with you. She stared at the leaf, knowing there was a flush in her cheeks. What have you got there? His hands brushed against hers as she handed him the leaf to look at and saw a little pink in his face. Is this what you mentioned? What you made last night? Yeah, I had some fabric, so I made a table runner. I saw it featured in some images I searched through. She picked up the long folded fabric and flipped it out, exposing the shimmering golds against the reds. Wow, Marinette, that's stunning. You really have a gift for designing and making. I'm in awe of your talent. I sometimes wish I could be as creative as you. But you are. I think you just need a bit more practice and confidence. You never know. You might find you have a calling for making oversized thankful trees by the time we are finished. They both laughed. But all honesty, I don't think you give yourself enough credit sometimes, Adrien. She added, the soft stare returned to his face. His phone buzzed and broke the new binding between them. He took it out of his pocket and glared at the message. It's Natalie, saying the car will pick me up in 5 minutes to take me back. Marinette offered to walk him down to the side door and onto the now dark, wintry street. Thank you again for all your help, Adrien, and tomorrow comes the messy part. I look forward to it. The car pulled up to them. I'll see you in school tomorrow. Adrien did a halfway as he disappeared inside. Over the next couple of days, Adrien and Marinette spent their time during class to discuss ideas on what they would do with the tree, and after school worked on the next part. They placed a chicken wire frame around the wood before covering it with paper mache, making jokes when they came across one of his ads and covering it with paste. The following afternoon, they added the base color and watched as the tree transformed in front of them. After Adrien had to leave, Marinette sat for hours watching another feel-good film and cut out leaves for the people to leave their messages on. On their fourth afternoon together, all of Marinette's nerves with Adrien had disappeared and felt relaxed in his company to the point of flirtatious at points, but nothing more. And yet, she found herself even grateful for that. Their relationship, whatever it was becoming, was blossoming much like the tree. They were painting on the details and hadn't been doing it for long when Adrien got a message, and by the look on his face, he wasn't happy. What's wrong? Is everything okay? She kept her gaze on the silver paint, blending it in with the grey going up the trunk. It's Natalie. Said father wants me home as I've been missing too many of my studies this week and I need to catch up. That's okay, I can finish it. No, it's not okay, but I need to keep him happy so I get to attend the gathering on Saturday. He moaned whilst he gathered up his things. She didn't know what to say. He'd been hinting more as they chatted for hours about how life at home could be difficult at times. Another thing she was grateful for were her own parents. Do you think you'll be able to help tomorrow with the setting up? I don't know. I'll try. I really want to stay longer and help. Adrien, you've helped me more than I could say. I'm thankful for the time we've had and the past few days. She gave him a cheeky smile and saw one forming on his lips. Marinette. He stepped closer to her and took her hand in his. I'm thankful for... His phone buzzed and the smile faded slightly on his face before darting his gaze at her. Letting me help you and doing this together. His hand let go of hers and grabbed for his phone. My driver is here. I'll see myself out. I'll see you at school tomorrow? Yeah, I'll see you at school. She replied as he slipped through the hatch and out of her bedroom. She spent the rest of the evening jumping from adding more details to the tree, letting the paint dry, and creating more leaves with the additional help from the Kwamis, drifting around the room, bringing her things and giving their own touches of magic to the look of the tree, especially from Tiki. "This is going to be amazing when you finish, Marinette. Who knew how well you and Adrien worked well together? I can't believe these past few days have happened. To spend so much time together, just the two of us. I haven't been a mess in front of him. It's been like a dream." She paused, staring at the leaf in her hand. "This might sound strange. I love him, and I thought of myself as his friend, but doing this together, the project, it's like I've seen another side to Adrien. He has been more playful, open. We've talked so much that he's gotten to the point we don't need words. We already know what the other is about to do. Does that make sense?" "Like you and Kat during Akuma battles?" "I suppose a bit, but we have worked together for longer. It's different. Our relationship is different." "Is it?" Tiki squeaked. She hadn't noticed the knocking on her window at first, and then she glanced up and saw Kat at her window. Panic instantly hit her as she quickly glanced around, making sure that none of her little ones were about before focusing back towards a playful, smirking grin at her window. She threw him a questioning look, resulting in his grin becoming wider as she climbed up to her bed and opened the skylight. The crisp night air hit her in the face, clearing away any tired fogginess. "Kitty, what brings you to my window on such a frosty night? Come in and get warm." "Hello, Princess. I was drawn to your light and wondered what you were up to. Call it my inner cat curiosity." He jumped down and shut the window behind him. She couldn't help but giggle at his wiggling eyebrows and welcome the distraction of her partner, even though it was strange for him to be wandering across the rooftops in this chilly weather. "Well, I've been busy with a project with one of my good friends. Come and see." She climbed back down the ladder and gestured for him to follow. "Wow, that looks amazing. Is that a tree?" "Yeah, it's a thankful tree. Inspired by the look of a silver birch, but using golden leaves." She passed him the leaf she had just made. "See? People are going to write a message on the leaf to express what they are thankful for and then hang it on like so." She showed him with another leaf which had a piece of a hooked forest wire placed through it and hung it from one of the branches. Kat was silent, causing her to become bashful. "Do you think people will like it? Adrien and myself have put a lot of time and love into it. Do you think it's silly?" She made to take the leaf off, but Kat placed his gloved hand over hers. "No, sorry. Seeing it with the leaf on it? It's wonderful. You are wonderful. For coming up with the idea, I mean." As if suddenly aware he was holding her hand, Kat let go, turning his attention to the leaf he was holding. "Thank you, Kitty. That means the world." "You should come. We are having a gathering of friends and family, a form of Thanksgiving for a new addition to the family, Zoe. And, well, you're part of the family too, so you should come. It's on Saturday." She gently placed her hand on his arm and received a warm smile, glancing from her hand to her face. "There is no one else like you, Marinette, my princess, with such a loving heart." Without her even realizing, he was stroking her cheek with his gloved fingers and held a gaze that caught her by surprise. It reminded her of the melting look she had received a few times from Adrien over the past couple of days. And then, as if realizing what he was doing, his hand dropped to his side and took a step back. "May I?" He held the leaf up. "Can I be the first to leave a message?" "Does that mean you aren't coming?" she said with a hint of disappointment. "I will if I can, but I would like to be the first, if that's okay with you." He took a seat at her desk and picked out a pen. She hovered next to him, not sure if she could take a look at what he was writing. After 5 minutes, he stood back up, grabbing a hook and placed the leaf on the tree. "I better be going." He stood awkwardly for a moment. She could tell he was torn with wanting to stay. The thought brought a smile to her lips. "You know you're welcome at my window any time, Kitty, if you need to talk. And I hope you can pop by on Saturday. It's on the Liberty ship." He bounced back and forth on the balls of his feet, like he was unsure of the next step he wanted to take. Giving her a bashful smile, he nodded his head and said softly, "Sweet dreams, princess." He climbed her ladder and was out the window, disappearing back into the black of the night. Once Marinette was alone again, she picked up the leaf and read, "I'm thankful for my princess in her tower, whose light shines in the dark and holds a magical heart which has healed my world. Signed with a black paw." She felt herself blushing at his words and carefully placed the leaf back on its spot. "Oh, Kitty." The morning of the small party had arrived. They had 5 hours to get the space ready before more of the class arrived and any additional families and friends. Marinette had her papa help transport the tree, taking a clear step back at all points as he lifted it in and out of the delivery van. The last thing she wanted to do was to stumble and break all their hard work. "Wow, girl! Is this the secret project you and Adrien have been working on? Hidden away up there in your room?" "Yes, it's a thankful tree, and I would be thankful if you didn't give me that look." "What?" "I'm just saying, who would have thought the two of you finally?" "You know nothing like that happened. There was no kiss or declaring love." "You mean to tell me you spent all that time with him to the point that you no longer look like a complete mess in front of him? Said with love, but it's true. And yet you still didn't tell him your feelings? Why not?" Marinette gestured for Alia to drop her voice. She didn't want to receive everyone else's opinion on the matter. "It wasn't like that. Yes, there was some flirting, but instead I focused on spending time with him, really getting to know him. And I hate to use the word, but being his friend." Marinette giggled as Alia's eyebrows shot up whilst her mouth hung open. "It's funny. I think I have a deeper love for him, but if all he wanted was to be my friend, like we have been over the past few days, for now, I think I would be okay with that. Do you know what I mean?" "No, that makes no sense. You need to tell the boy how you feel, especially now he has gotten to know the Marinette we all know and love and forever thankful for. I think you might be surprised by his answer." Alia left her friend to ponder her words while she went and helped Nino string millions of fairy lights around the ship. Bit by bit, through the morning, the deck of the ship transformed into magical space. The table and chairs Adrien had organized turned up and formed a long line from one side to the other. Marinette spent an hour dressing it like a model. The runner was like the dress, popping under the golden lights, and made sure every tiny detail was perfect before it was ordained by the audience. "Adrien, Father says I can leave in 30 minutes once he has approved something, and Natalie to confirm I've completed my tasks. I promise to be there soon. Sorry again." Marinette, "We have it under control. You get here when you can. And stop saying sorry." Smiley face, kiss. "Sorry? Will you send me a picture of how it looks? I don't think I can wait." "Sorry, but no. LOL. You will just have to wait and be thankful for patience." Adrien, "I'm thankful for..." Kiss. "Marinette, come here and give me a hand with this." She couldn't stop grinning as she placed her phone back into her pocket and helped to hold a piece of fabric up to guard against the side breeze. "We could do with having Luca here for his height, but he is helping to keep Zoe distracted until the surprise. I forgot to check. Are you alright with them? Together?" They seem to be hanging out more often these days. It's kinda strange, but they make sense together, and Zoe can give Luca something I can't at the moment. Time and heart. I will never step in the way of him being happy, and I think he feels the same way about me too. So, what about the other tall one? Where is Sunshine Boy? He messaged and said he would be here in 30 minutes. I hope so, as Zoe is due in an hour and people will arrive soon with food. My folks are bringing the turkey and 3 trays of desserts. Is your maman still bringing her famous dish? Alia looked at the time on her phone. Yep, and the whole family should be here soon. I want to say thanks again for this. It's pretty special. I only thought of the idea. We only pulled it off because we worked as a team and did it together. Well, either way, I'm thankful. They both chuckled as they tied off the canvas. Over the next hour, family and friends arrived, bringing with them food and drinks and treats to add to the overflowing table as delicious blends of smells and sounds of joy filled the ship. Marinette! The tree! She turned round to see Adrien bounding towards her and wrapped his arms around her, placing a kiss on her cheek. It's amazing to see it under the lights, and it already has 20 leaves hanging off it. And your artistry in the finishing touches, it has been one of the best things I've ever done. Noticing he still had a hold on her in a tight embrace, he lowered her back down but still remained close. We did a great job, and I really enjoyed making it with you. So, have you placed your leaf on the tree yet? Know what you are thankful for? Suddenly feeling nervous, Marinette fiddled with her fingers, casting a gaze from his eyes to her hands. Adrien placed his over hers whilst holding onto a leaf. He slowly uncurled her fingers and placed the leaf inside. Dude, can I grab you for a second? Nino shouted over to them both. Adrien said nothing, but smiled at her with a twinkle in his eyes before disappearing back through the crowd. Frozen on the spot, all the thoughts dispersed from her mind as her hands unfolded and the gold shone through. Turning it over, she saw one line in his writing. I'm thankful for you. What did that mean? What was he saying? Her heart was yelling out the answer was of love, but her head repeated the same line of friendship. She needed to speak to him, ask him once and for all. She heard a loud cheer erupt around her and saw Zoe and Luca approach the ship and place the leaf in her bag. That will have to wait until later. Happy Thankful Day! Everyone called out. Girl, come on! Marinette threw her friend a questioning look as Alia tugged her to the front of the group. You're gonna say some words. No, I'm not. Alia, I can't suddenly do a speech in front of everyone. Just say a few words. She shoved Marinette forward as Nino handed her a mic as she handed him a glare. Welcome everyone to Thankful Day, our version of Thanksgiving, inspired and done for our dear friend Zoe and how thankful we are having her here. As her sight left Zoe's blushing face and scanned the crowd, she caught sight of Adrien, who was beaming at her and his note calling out from her purse. She had to look away, sensing the colour in her cheeks rising and scared that she would fumble over the words. So, please enjoy yourselves with good company. There is plenty of food, and take a moment to leave a leaf on the thankful tree, expressing what you are most thankful for. Thank you. Another cheer filled the space as she stepped down from the stage. Zoe dashed towards her. I can't believe you organised all this after I'd mentioned it last weekend. Thank you. Well, you're part of our family now, and we wanted to show you and others how much you matter. I know it's not traditional, It's so much better. It's me and it's you and it's all of us blended together. I never realized that I could call Paris home, but you, all of you, have shown me I'm a part of something here. Something I never had before. So thank you, every one of you. Zoe said, her gaze landing on each of their friends who were gathering around them. Rose was the first to hug Zoe, followed by Mylene and Ivan, until all the friends were gathered into one mass. Marinette beamed at Alia on one side of her and turned to see Adrien slipping his arm around her on the other side, joining the embrace. She felt herself blush as a hand wrapped around his waist as he pulled her in a little tighter to whisper into her ear. "Did you hang my leaf on our tree?" I meant every word. But I want to know, what are you thankful for, Marinette? Thank you for listening. Thank you. I want to say a personal thank you to everyone who's just supported and loved the channel and loved the stories and comment and subscribed. It's been crazy roller coaster the past how many months, and I just want to say thank you really for all of that. And I hope whatever you are doing on Thanksgiving, and I know this is coming out a day later, but with families or friends or in the family that you've created yourself, I want to say I hope you've had a lovely time. And yeah, just spread the love, spread the thankfulness, and yeah, comment down below thankful. If you don't know what else to say, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe, because this is the prelude to the Christmas series, All I Want for Christmas, and you don't want to miss out on that. You want to know what happens next. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Bye.